there's little doubt in my mind that it's images like this that set my mind in motion, made it ablaze with creativity in the early days of fantasy role playing. Now, it's one thing to have a vehicle or an engine to make your own world, a system to do that with, but it's these images that really set the tone of fantasy gaming. And what was that tone? Weird and archaic, just beautiful, almost intimidating. Like you wouldn't want to go into that world a little bit. You would like to peek in, but you wouldn't want to step foot in it. That was the idea, and I think that's lost today. I don't think it's totally lost. I'm sure there's artists out there that can do this, but I don't see it. And what does this mean? What am I bringing to the table on this conversation? I'm talking about tarot cards today as an example. You see, I've been looking for years, ever since I got the fantasy trip, gotten all back into it. I've been looking for years for a good tarot deck because every gamer, a role player knows that that's a cool gimmick to use. Oh, let's see what fate brings you today. That whole thing. So I really was looking for a good deck. The problem is all the decks that I ever see are really over engineered. It's almost like music. You got women that can sing, and then you got the ones that are engineered with computers and stuff like that. It's just like, the art's going away. It's still beautiful to a point, but there's something lost. And this is the point of what I'm making here. Okay, but today I have finally found a deck that fits the niche perfectly. I have looked for years for it, so I am going to be talking to you today about why you should be using the Deck of Many Things by Game Masters Merchant. And just a quick few items of note here. Harnwold, the medieval fantasy setting that's kind of Games of Thrones-ish. If that's into your thing, their fourth hardback, The Kingdom of War Ball, is out now on Kickstarter. It's the Viking Kingdoms, so definitely jump in on that. And I also have 19 left of the dice supersets. Now, these were made from the customer appreciation kits that they came out with that were very well received. Well, these, I have the extras of the dice left. I've got 19 of them. You get 7 sets of dice for $19. Hey, you want to think Christmas, it's, inflation, it's harder times right now. And this would make 7 great gifts if you just want to give little stocking stuffers to your fellow gamers because, while it's going to be tight. So be one of the 19 and grab that. And if you are into, for instance, the fantasy trip, you know all about the fantasy counter kits, I only have 29 of number 2 and number 3 left. I got enough of number 1 to last me a while, but number 2 and number 3, I do not have 29 of them, and then they'll all be gone. So get to Power Cell Games website and order them now. So now about this deck. Now the thing is, you guys know I'm a frugal gamer, right? And I like deals, and I've shown you a few deals that some of you have really capitalized on. I had that fantasy trip score, another RPG score. I think I'm going to change. I think this is worthy of that. I think I'm going to change the title of this. I was going to say why you should be using the Deck of Many Things. I think I'm going to change this into a tarot card RPG score or something similar. Because why? $19.95 including shipping to your door. I kid you not. This is a great deal. So let's see what you're getting for it. Now, first off, it comes with a box within a box. And that's fine because, you're shipping from China, of course. And, I know from experience from my own fantasy counter kits and maybe some other my clients, you get some boxes damaged, but yet the innards are still intact. So you could at least sell the innards. So that's okay. That's why you do that. So anyway, here's the deck itself. And basically, these cards are a little bit squatter and fatter than normal tarot cards, but they still are good because they don't look like regular poker cards, right? That would be the bad way to go, is using regular poker cards. Something, again, takes you out of the world that you're in. And the thing is, also, I wanted to get something that kind of, the Rider-Waite tarot deck, the reason I didn't want to use them is because, again, it's our world, right? I don't want to use a Rider-Waite tarot card deck. Tarot cards would be good enough because they're not poker cards. They're weird, they're different, you don't see them every day. But I definitely, and this artwork's what I'm going for the same reason I like the classical D&D. because it's just there's something arcane and amateurish even to it. It's like I could see a wizard drawing these themselves, right? And so now we get to the nitty gritty about why these cards are so great, and here we go. Bam, just awesome. I mean, just black and white with the gold trim. A little bit more than a trim, I guess you could say, but it's just definitely an accent, I guess you could say. I'm not an artist. Got to talk to my brother and ask him, hey, what is it? An accent or is it a trim? What am I talking about here? But I just know that these are cool. These are just beautiful. And yeah, they're made for 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons because this is what the Deck of Many Things are. And they do have some things about suggestions about how to use them in your D&D game. Even for that, I think that a lot of these are actually a little bit over the top and just wild and weird. But I'm playing a fantasy trip anyway. But even if it doesn't matter what role-playing game you're using. These are really, some of these effects are pretty wild. Doesn't matter. I'm going to use these as 2 ways. One is just like it could be a divination kind of tool. Like that's what tarot cards are supposed to be. You're supposed to think about a problem, then flip a card, and depending on, sometimes it's just the card itself that'll give it away of what you're doing, or sometimes it's the artwork on the card. The Rider-Waite cards definitely had tons of symbolism in there. If you've ever read them, I did a little bit there, and there's just tons of symbolism of what the cards mean. There's a whole story. A 2-page story that you can go over about the Rider-Waite cards. Now, I don't know if you're going to get that kind of from these necessarily, but that's okay. You're making it up as you go along anyway. You don't want to consult a book. You just want to go with it. Now, of course, there are a couple things you can do with the Deck of Many Things. The most obvious is divination, right? You see a fortune teller, you start flipping cards over, you start predicting the future, and you see where that road gets you. And it also can be a mind maker. If you're a game master and you're stuck, you can just flip a card over and just say, okay, I'll interpret this as happening now, and boom, 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 boom. It's just a different way of rolling the dice and just kind of feeling like you're using the cards, right? It's kind of like a visual version of the cards that me and Phil Reed made. I made the Labyrinth Encounter cards. Phil Reed made and both of us with Steve Jackson, of course, with the outdoor adventure cards for the fantasy trip. And it's just kind of works like that. But you could also use these as a game too. And I don't know if, whether it be a memory game or something simple, but that would actually be cool depending on the IQ of the player you're playing against. You have to have them memorize something amongst so many cards, right? But another one would be, as far as games go, I don't know if this is something that's in D&D or not, or the way these cards were supposed to be made, but most of the cards have a white background. 5 of the more aggressive ones have a black background, like Comet, Ruin, and stuff like that. Only one, the Void, has a black border around it. Now, I don't know if that's on purpose or if that is the artist's interpretation of them, but that could be something special too, where you keep on picking cards, and then as soon as you pick up one of the bad cards, you're out, and something bad happens to you, and you kind of oppress your luck kind of thing. So that's kind of an interesting concept, but I'm sure there will be no lack of creativity with these beautiful cards in your hands. Now, the last 3 cards they give you are something that's like, let's say you're playing a one-shot Johnny. You're just flipping one card and saying this is happening to your character, right? That's what these are. These are little bit primers about what every card would actually do to a character. Now, some of these are pretty much over the top and almost brutal. So I wonder if these would be like something you would just say are not necessarily permanent, but they're permanent for the time being until the adventure's over, maybe, And I don't know if the author made these or these are actually the official versions of what Dungeons & Dragons says would happen. So I'm not sure there. But what I would have liked to have seen, and maybe in the future they'll make one, I don't know, because there's room in the box, it's a little booklet, like I was saying with the Rider-Waite deck, how it talks about the symbolism of the card, just a basic rundown of what it could mean. So it helps your interpretation in different ways other than the most obvious knee-jerk reaction, right? That was what was interesting about the Rider-Waite tarot cards. Yeah, you have the Queen of Cups, but then all of a sudden you think it means this, but also it could mean this, and that could just get you going all around the room. I definitely see this as a tool that you could absolutely use like this as you get more and more into it. I definitely love the artwork to the deck, though. It is the deck that I've been looking for years. You guys, $20 and it's in your home. Go grab it, and I'll see you next video.